The parade of villains continues in the Absolute Batman universe. No rest for Bruce Wayne, only pain. Absolute Batman 17 gives a full reveal as well as some backstory for the Absolute version of Poison Ivy. This issue lets people see a glimpse of her monstrous form, and it's more than what I put in the thumbnail. Now, Absolute Ivy's full debut, because there have been hints and teases before this, had a big ramp up a couple of months before this issue's release, with teases of redacted covers, and then finally some variant covers. These showcased Ivy's design, and they're not inaccurate, you'll see. Now, all of this ignited some fierce discussion, as these things tend to do, and especially around Ivy. Her fan base is intense. But there are questions such as why there seem to be feathers and talons. What is she? The answer is, like most villains in the Absolute universe, she's a lot of a lot. I'm Sasha, this is Casually Comics. Let's take a look at Absolute Batman number 17, which has a lot going on. We're close to time recording, so spoilers, because I want to really dive in there. Now, issue 17 is following off of the Absolute Batman and Wonder Woman team-up, which we also discussed, where they went to part of the underworld to get something to try and cure Waylon, and Bruce got to have a heartfelt talk with his dead father. And while he seemed to be at a pretty good place with being Batman at the end of that issue, he's less so in this one. Now, this issue is the start of a new story, The Seventh Kingdom Part 1. The title matters, we'll get to that later. It's written by Scott Snyder, with art by Eric Canetti, colors Frank Martin, and opens in the past on some narration from Ivy, which is nicely framed in these narration boxes that have these spreading out kind of green tendrils that look like Ivy but could also look like veins, which is apt given what we're going to learn later. Ivy is 10 and visiting Gotham City with her mom for thematic foreshadowing and also establishment purposes. Do they call it the heart building because it's shaped like a heart, I ask, peeking over the edge. No, Ivy girl, she says. She calls me Ivy because I love climbing trees in the hollow behind our cabin. It's called that because it was built at the heart of the city, where the crosswinds intersect, carrying currents to all 5 boroughs. The legend is, more than anywhere else in the city, this spot gives a wish the best chance of taking root somewhere out there and growing strong. My mother plucks a dandelion for me. She's already sick, but I don't know this yet. Make a wish from the heart, she says. And so I do. There's a lot of layered symbolism here, and I do appreciate it. We have wishes as seeds, wishes as dreams. There's also the idea of the heart of Gotham being something that things spread out from, take root in, a kind of dark root or dark wish or dream. It works well with the idea of corruption being something that grows in Gotham, which is present throughout most universes. Also, just the idea that it will spread and grow outwards like that. We're getting some Mr. Bloom energy here. In the present, grotesque things happening seemingly at the same building. Human, plant, womb, hybrid things. Whenever you do an external kind of fetus, you always get that kind of shock reaction. The Brood, Jujutsu Kaisen, those are the two that hopped to my mind first. Now this looks like a job for Batman, because it needs to be a job for somebody. And this issue, Batman's back to being pretty funny. There's some jokes and setups. Along the same vein as when he punted that child.
Damned if I know, Lieutenant. Heads Up Hill just issued a full biohazard, 5-block radius. Our job is now to watch out for anyone trying to get in. Ian, what kind of psycho would... I'm in. Talk.
A bat chainsaw attached to his arm. He's 2 steps away from having a mech. Come on, budget Batmech. Now, the people sent inside have been changed, altered. Whenever I see them standing in that way, I always think of the Batman TAS episode, Eternal Youth, where she's turned the people into trees. It has some of that energy. But these people aren't registering as human anymore because they're not, so they're something else. This allows the issue to play with the body horror element the series has embraced. And the guest artist uses a lot of free flow to this art that feels kind of malleable. It makes the creatures appear in transition and also as if they would be kind of unpleasant to touch. There's a visceral element to having them be so loose. Now, things are not going great for Bruce on a personal front. He can't find his group of childhood friends that in this universe consist of characters of his rogues gallery, and now many of whom seem to be headed that way, especially Ozzy. Edward won't even answer his riddle, the Riddler who doesn't riddle. And Harvey has vanished, despite his injury sounding like he could keel over any minute, or if something bumps into him, or if he bumps into something. All of this has left Bruce feeling conflicted. He's also found Waylon's skin like he shed it. This is coupled with the fact there's a lot of enthusiasm surrounding Batman that's coming from the people of Gotham. They're really enjoying Batman. He's giving them a lot of hope.
But everything feels different. Even Batman, ever since Bane, they love him. He's theirs now too, in a way I didn't mean to happen. He was never supposed to be the story, just the means. But he's everywhere now. Sometimes I see that bat, and I don't know what the I'm looking at.
Batman in general tends to operate in the shadows and with this veil of fear. Even when people like him and are glad he's there, he's not typically so overtly liked, at least not in the post-crisis and onwards kind of tellings. You have different things before, like the 60s, the 60s, Bat merch everywhere. So this kind of depiction allows for Absolute Batman to go through a different kind of pressure and musing about his role as the symbol starts to eclipse the man, which is a play on the classic, how much of Bruce is Batman? And there are some versions you'll see where there is no Bruce, it's just a mask, a persona. This is not going in that direction. Bruce is very much a person here, and now this symbol is encroaching upon his life in ways he wasn't entirely prepared for. And now everything seems to be in shambles. It's just gonna get worse for him as this issue goes on. Also, side note, if this series keeps up popularity-wise, we might see some of these little battle axes. I think my son would want one. Now, there's a lot intercutting this issue in between the fight going on into Bruce's past and also Ivy's. Here we're intercutting between Bruce's struggles and him trying to ascend the building, as he recognizes some of what he's seeing, and there's a handy-dandy editor's note. Beautiful. Love to see it. Especially as people are hopping onto the series at different points. Some people might see an Ivy cover and be like, ooh, Ivy. We get a nice transition from Batman remembering Isley's name to some more of her past, as the wishes to seed parallel continues and the whole growth element. Also, they keep trying to justify Ivy keeping her name. They really hit it hard. The writing for Ivy varies in that way. Sometimes it feels like you're reading a journal, and sometimes it veers into feeling very expository. However, what they're discussing here, the expansion is interesting. And because the characters need to change for this universe in some way, it's welcome. This Ivy has moved away from being an eco-terrorist into a bit more of mad scientist territory, though the backstory retains an element of wanting to help people as a starting point. But then it goes awry. Her search for a cure for her mom first leads her to a fusion of plants and humans, but this Ivy goes beyond as she has a different motivation. At night, I look out at the city and wonder if my mother's sickness is part of some bigger pathology happening to us all. Alone, isolated, separated by walls, real and technological and imagined. We turn inward, lose touch. Malignancies grow from our own selves. But if we could reconnect, rejoin. From the heart, my girl, I hear my mother say. And then it hits me. What does Ivy do? It climbs. Maybe there's a version of me somewhere that stops at plants. But not this one. Not here. I will combine ourselves with more, not just plants. I will pull from all 6 kingdoms of life. I will climb higher. Higher than anyone thinks possible. Again, there's a lot going on here. We have that desire for connection being twisted into something dark. So you again have something that could be a positive being pushed to the point where it becomes something dangerous. Also, while you have the Ivy and climb thing there to reinforce the naming in a very heavy-handed way, you also have the kind of ascent, as if she's building towards something that she shouldn't be. We've got some kind of Tower of Babel energy there. Just taking out the repeat of what does Ivy do at climbs, but keeping the rest of the climbing metaphor would be stronger, as it would assume the reader remembers a few pages earlier. They also start to hit, and in a way outright say, what the title is pertaining to with its 7 kingdoms. That this may be playing with some dark version of the Calver-Smith classification model, because that's the 7 kingdom model versus she's talking about the 6 kingdom one, the 6 kingdoms of life. There is a 7 kingdom model, and it's an expansion on the 6th in biology. The 6th model includes Animalia, Plantae, Fungi, Protista, Eubacteria, and Archaebacteria. The 7 kingdom model becomes Bacteria, Archaea, Protozoa, Chromista, Plantae, Fungi, and Animalia. That's just cliff notes. Biology was the one I kept taking. So this is playing with Ivy pulling from more of life, all life. It's still keeping those biological roots, it's just expanding it. In general, it's nice to see a twist of this variety, because we already have a lot going on with mainline Ivy. She's in her own series. It's over 40 issues deep now. She's doing fine. In the flashbacks, not only are Bruce's friends not talking to him, Joe Chill, whom he visits in prison once a month, now says he no longer wants to see him. In the present, we learn a tiny bit more about Pamela, namely that she's supposed to be dead, that there's an obituary for her that she died 5 years ago. So clearly she's been reborn as something else. Once more, we're dealing in the monstrous. Things that aren't quite human. Alfred reads that her mother wrote her obituary saying, "You've climbed farther than we can follow, to a land of better angels." There's more there than just a continuation of the Ivy metaphor. The monster that Batman was fighting, it looked somewhat like what some may consider a more biblically accurate angel. I'm using biblically accurate in quotes because there is some contestation as to whether or not that's what's being depicted or described in various biblical verses like Ezekiel or Isaiah regarding cherubim or seraphim, just based on the fact they use the word angel and what that description says. I'll go classic. Let's get some King James version in here. And their whole body, and their backs, and their hands, and their wings, and the wheels were full of eyes round about, even the wheels that they four had. Lots of eyes, that's a key part, and also the wings. So you can see some vestiges of some of that description in there. Also, 7 kingdoms can refer to revelations, so you can play with some of that too. There's plenty for you to pull from for your 4-hour video essay. Batman runs into Barbara Gordon and it goes amusingly. "Look, I was sent in here to stop whatever is happening up there. Me, you can join me as my partner, but you and me, this time, we're push. You piece of... At least they took the time to show the parachute. One of my favorite panels this issue is the face in the green. It's just so unsettling. It also, because it's sitting there, it's got kind of Swamp Thing or just green in general vibes. The green is a concept, not green is the color. It's not easy being green. Now, as all of this has been going on, Bruce has been telling Alfred that he's not going to stop, that he's going to keep ascending, keep going up to the top. It's been dangerous, and so Alfred has been telling him to turn back, basically since he got inside. But what this is doing, in one of the subtler moments of the issue, is it's paralleling Pamela Isley's ascent, or her determination and desire to climb in her backstory. All that talk of climbing, it's linking them. They're building a bit of a we're the same, you and I, on the determination front, to kind of add to the question of how far does one go that Batman is grappling with as an undercurrent. The breakthrough these past few weeks. Human cells remade with new DNA. First with Plantae, then Animalia, fungi, Protista, Eubacteria, and Archaebacteria. Yeah, they listed them. Human cells reconnected to nature, to a common base. Cells that can use the best of all life to mend. A cure for so much. I think of my mother full of tubes, yellowing on a pillow that crunches like dead leaves. My sponsors, though, all they want to do is divide up each discovery, individuate, separate. Old men who only think of what my work can do for them. Now we get to see if they actually use the seventh, break them down like that, or make the seventh some horrifying new discovery, or if they're just playing with the titling to be clever. Also, there is still that little bit of Ivy against the system built in there, but we're also about to see what's to come of it. But there is still an element of tragedy in some of the backstory. So there are a lot of parallel lines linking the two Ivies, but it also allows space to play with a different monstrous element inside to her, not just physically. This also in a way aligns her somewhat with Bruce and what he is trying to do. So we're going to see again that kind of play with how far is too far. And also we have yet to fully see what's become of her. Now in the past, when final betrayal and stuff for Martha to do as a character, we see her talking with Commissioner Gordon, and also we see that they're together and Bruce sees it too. He pieces out. He won't call him dad. Actually, it's a sad moment where he feels like his source of stability is changing. And Martha also hints that she has some secrets. The idea that Bruce is unsettled by change will be important because it's something else that's going to bring him into conflict with Ivy in this issue. Because a whole part of what's being done with her is the idea that things need to change. We get a splash page of what others are doing around the city, and Bruce wonders, are things changing because of him, because of Batman? He needs to find the source. This plays slightly adjacent to, does Batman create the villains that he fights? In of which, outside specific circumstances, the answer is usually no. And in this universe, doubly so, a hard no, because the universe was Darkseid created, stacked in evil's favor, and he's a response to that. He is, however, causing ripple effects and change. The words of the video are change, climb, and Ivy. On an individual level, he has some guilt, and also we get to see what some of the other characters are doing and thinking about Batman. We get to see Harley think about allying with him because there's been tons of rumors, low-key kind of, it seems like confirmed, that she'll be in a Robin position. Seems like time recording bets, all those things. We also see Dick Grayson annoyed with the Batman. Maybe we'll get a return of the Titans Dick Grayson. Batman. No Nightwing here, only Darkwing. Oh shoot, the copyright. He'll have to pick a different name. In the present, Batman makes it to the top, and he confronts Ivy, who first appears in her form from the covers, a beautiful hybrid of so many things. Don't be afraid, Batman. I know how frightening change can be, but it's time to let go. Batman tries to burn her, which has some very smooth intercutting with her being burnt in her lab. And we also get to see how inhuman she's become as she reforms multiple times with various looks. Also, we see that she's born of anger, of rage at what has happened to her, which is very similar to how her mainline origin will evolve. All of this leads to us getting to see lead Ivy. There's some strong Venus flytrap, among other things, energy, and there's still kind of monstrous beauty to this design. But still, this is not her final form. Shh. Welcome, Batman, to your wish. Ooh, it's unsettling in a kind of Area X type of way. I'm into it. If everybody else gets to be monstrous, so does Ivy. We get both forms. Everybody wins. Gooners, monster lovers, everybody in between, all can be satisfied. And again, wish can also mean dream, so it's nicely used in this context, in a kind of idea that this is a nightmare. There's been some clever wordplay this issue. It's very intentional, which is why it stands out a bit more when it veers heavy-handed. We do have an epilogue, and it teases its plot for Martha in the fact that she calls the Court of Owls, that she seems to be a part of. If Martha lives, that Bruce will have to fight her, that'll be so interesting. Because if she's not dead, she needs to play a pretty significant role in the story, something that alters it and justifies the change. So that would be interesting. I hope she does. Also, the fact that the Court of Owls is here is not surprising, as Snyder co-created them. Poor Batman, his universe is just teeming with villains. This was issue 17. There's likely more Ivy backstory to come, but this issue was fun and interesting, so I want to discuss it. Changing well-established characters can be difficult. There's always that balance of far, but not too far that one has to walk. And this one does it quite well, taking the character as a base premise and expanding it, but still presenting something familiar, but not too familiar. There's still room for it to diverge and expand even more, but it's also familiar enough that people won't go, wait, how is this Ivy? It's also always nice to see Ivy doing her own thing and being given a chance to grow. Ha, plant pun. They've been doing that more in general as of late, though I'm sure some are asking what this version's relationship with Harley will be. I'll be bold and offer none or antagonistic, just because it's in the moments when the Absolute Universe veers off and changes that to me it gets to be the most interesting, as its foundations get to be laid and it gets to have more of a firm footing to kind of branch off and try different things. Branch off. It's just happening. I'm not doing it on purpose. The strongest alternate universes have their own rules, allowing some of the changed bases to lead to different outcomes, even if there are still similarities. This issue does some solid character work for Bruce. These last few issues have been giving Bruce some time to kind of be fleshed out a bit more. There's been a balance between the action and the emotional development. This issue also builds a sense of tension, both in terms of Batman's physical and emotional well-being. You can feel that things are escalating, not climbing. It wouldn't fit. This issue does stay in keeping with its own metaphor and theming, to the point where at times it can be a bit heavy-handed. Now, if one already didn't like this series, or this Bruce, or the way the humor is employed, this issue is unlikely to change that. This series is in its groove now. You've got the action, you've got the body horror, you've got the character development. This is a solid issue, and the Ivy reveal and build up to it pays off. It's not terribly different from the designs that were leaked, but it's different enough, and you do get to still have that monster form. I say leaked, it wasn't really a leak. Though, of course, I'm sure some of you may disagree. Some may feel this is too familiar. They may not be into Ivy or find her backstory a tad cliche. They may wish the design had gone harder. They may feel that some of the exposition was too direct. As always, different strokes for different folks. All of the things in this video were just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. What do you think of Absolute Ivy, of this series? Please leave everything down below. While you're down there, please do YouTube things like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to spend discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.